So thanks so much for joining us tonight. We have Ebony Tyler from Liberated Success. And I am going to let her take it away.
Happy Tuesday, everyone. I'm so glad to be here with you today. So welcome to Succeeding in the Workplace. I'm going to share my screen, and if you can see it, just give me a quick thumbs up so I know we're good to go. All right. So today, I'm the founder. I'm Ebony Tyler, founder of Liberated Success, and we are a youth career development nonprofit. And I created this organization to help young people 14 to 24 years old in their career journey. So Succeeding in the Workplace, this is a webinar series, and this is designed to help you build your career toolbox. So we're here every other Tuesday at 4:45. We're here every other Tuesday at 4:45, and today we're going to talk about teamwork and collaboration. So in the chat, I put a icebreaker activity, and we're gonna, I want you to think about that. But before we get started, we always go over our community agreements, right? Like this just helps us how we should govern ourselves. It's a great tool builder, right? Something to add to our career toolbox as we go through many different virtual spaces, right? So we're going to be curious. We're going to be present, right? Like for 1 minute, I was unpresent because my watch went off, right? We'll be curious, we'll be open, we'll be respectful, we'll assume best intent, we'll take space, we'll make space. So if you're someone that's super chatty, right, you'll leave space for your colleagues to go ahead and talk. And if you're someone that doesn't talk that much, right, I challenge you to bring your voice to the room a little bit more. And then we want to have one mic, right, really hard if we're all, talking at the same time. And then we'll speak from our own experience, right? We'll use I statements instead of generalizations. All right. So we have our session goals today, and we are going to define and develop a clear understanding of what teamwork is. We're going to discuss the 5 personality types. We're going to identify what our own personal work personality is, and then we'll discuss some strategies for a cohesive team. So the icebreaker. So I want you to unmute, or you can drop it in the chat, but I'd really love to hear your voice. So I want you to maybe share a time that you were on a team, right? Who was the leader? Were they appointed, or did they emerge from some type of group dynamic? What skills or what characteristics did this person exhibit? What really stood out for you about them? And if you were the leader, what characteristics do you possess as a leader? Was this a team sport? Was it a club, a school club? Was it an extracurricular activity? Was it student government, or was it a civics club, right? Leadership comes in so many different ways, and so many different being on a team, so many different ways you can be on a team. So I invite you to unmute and share an experience.
One time I was a lead. One time I was on the team. I was the leader. It was in 8th grade. We were doing a STEM project, and we were supposed to make a greenhouse. Where we had to create food for the less fortunate, and it was supposed to be able to run on its own with its own water source, its own air regulation, and some of the traits I showed was that I was a really responsible, respectful person. I allowed everybody to speak out their opinions. I made sure that the work was divided and that nobody felt left out, and that we all worked equally and fairly to complete the project.
Diana, that was excellent. That was spot on. That's going to summarize what we're going to talk about today. Does anyone else want to share a time that maybe they were a leader? Catherine wrote in the chat that there's a time that she was in a team, was at work when they had to handle a couple of things around the cafe. There wasn't specifically a leader, but there was someone who mainly helped with everyone's tasks. Their voice was calm and collected, and they also participated. So it was not just us working. I love that. Thank you. One more. We have one more. Does anyone else want to share? All right, so we'll power through. We'll get started with today's workshop. So when you hear the word teamwork, what comes to mind? And you can just go ahead and just call it out. What comes to mind when you hear the word teamwork? And I heard some of it in the two descriptions.
Just everyone working together and like everyone being equal.
Yes. Anyone else?
Work being divided equally and making sure that nobody is kind of leeching on somebody else's work and doing nothing.
Yes. So I'm hearing a lot of collaboration, working together. So teamwork. Teamwork is the cooperative action of a group of people in order to achieve a goal. It's often a critical part of business as it is necessary for colleagues to work well together, right? So that's what I keep hearing from Diana and Catherine, working together, right? It involves people cooperating with each other, using their individual skills and providing constructive feedback despite any type of personal conflict between the individuals. Now, you can have a team or you can have a group of people. Now, a group is just a bunch of people that gathered together in a designated space, right? So that can be a physical space, or that could be a virtual space, right? Like we're a group of people in a virtual space. But teams are special because they have a shared purpose and a sense of collective responsibility. And teamwork, it's essential to any workplace, right? Because people want to work with people that they can work well with. And I think I may have shared this at another one of our past workshops, that I once went on a job interview, and when I got to the third interview, it was just like a chat, right? Like we were having coffee and we were talking, and she said, you know, we just want to make sure that we're working with people and bringing people on the team that we like, that we can work well with, right? So feeling people out, right? So it's really important to understand what you bring to the team. So how do we go from a group of people to a team? That's really about knowing who you are. So let's consider these 5 basic personality types. And each type refers to a different shape. Has anyone heard of this concept before? Okay, no hands up. All right then. All right, so squares, okay? A square. I don't know, I'm middle-aged, so they sometimes say a square, an L7. I don't know, that probably doesn't resonate with you young people, but a square, right? Squares are organized. They're organized, they're logical, they're hardworking people. They like structure and rules. Sometimes they may have trouble making decisions, right? Because they always want more information to be able to make the best decision. They feel very comfortable in a stable environment with clear directions on what to do. They tend to like things nice and orderly, right? And they'll work on a task until it's finished, no matter what, right? Like they're really focused. So how do we spot our squares, right? They use precise and specific gestures. They love routine. They're very concerned with detail. They also are very neat in their appearance. Their workspace and their personal space is probably neat. And they do a lot of planning, and they're prompt, right? So back when I was younger, right, L7 squares was like an insult, but being a square it's a good thing, right? You can see based on these adjectives to describe them, right? They're organized, they're detailed, they're analytical, they're patient. Squares, you would want to have a square on your team if you're trying to reach, you know, a really complicated goal. You want to have someone that's like that. The next are rectangles. Now, rectangles, they're courageous, they're brave, They like exciting things. They're inquisitive explorers, and they're always searching for ways to be able to grow and change, right? They really enjoy trying new things before. They love asking questions that have never been asked before. They're looking at things from different ways. They also do like structure, right? And they'll also be the person to be sure that things get done in a proper way, right? They like to know what the rules and the regulations are, right? So that they can take those things into consideration. And when they're given a task, they start organizing in their mind, right? Like the most systematic way to get the things done. Now, our rectangles, how do we spot them? They don't necessarily come to work early. They may come early, right? Or they may leave late or come late, right? They don't always follow a schedule, right? Our rectangles, they kind of move to a different beat. Now, their office, even though their brain functions in an organized, way for their tasks, their workspace may be a little unorganized, but it's organized in their mind. I definitely exhibit some rectangle type characteristics. And then the next one is triangles. Now, triangles, they're born leaders, all right? They're confident. They can make a decision. They also appreciate being recognized, and they're goal-oriented. They enjoy planning things out, and they're motivated by accomplishments. They tend to look at the big picture, long-term issues, but sometimes triangles, they may miss some of the details, right? Even though they're a leader, they're looking big picture. So when given a task, they set a goal and they work on it and they plan for it. Now, triangles, they're characterized as having powerful voices and love to laugh and telling jokes, right? And they say that they play hard as well as they work hard. And a characteristic is like they like to be stylish, right? Stylish dressers. And then we have our circles. Our circles, they're social. They love to communicate. They handle things by talking them out. They like to smooth things over. Communication is very, very important for our circles, right? So when given a task, they want to talk about it. They want to hear people's input. They're a people person, right? And they have a lot of sympathy and some empathy for others, right? They consider other people's thoughts. They like to listen, right? And they communicate well, and they're very perceptive about people's feelings. They like harmony, and they really are uncomfortable with unpopular decisions. So how do we spot our circles? They're friendly, they're nurturing, they're persuasive, right? You're talking to them and then you're like, wait, did they just get me to do that, right? They're generous. They tend to be relaxed and they smile a lot. They're very talkative. They have mellow voices, and they're full of laughs. They have a lot of energy, and they're very warm people. And then we have our squiggles. Squiggles are creative. They like doing new things and different things, and they get bored, right? With regularity, like with the same thing day in and day out, they get bored. So when given a task, they come up with bright ideas about how to do it. They don't necessarily think of things like, okay, we're going to go from like A, B, C. This is how we're going to get it done. Step 1, step 2, step 3, right? They tend to like jump around in their mind. And squiggles, they say, how do you spot a squiggle? They can be flashy, dramatic, very creative. And they don't necessarily like highly structured environments. They're very funny. They're very expressive. They have great intuition. So we like performers and writers are squiggles. So let's take a minute, right? Like that was a lot. I went through all of them pretty quickly, but let's take a minute and let's look at this. What shape do you identify with? So these are the characteristics, and let's just take about a minute or two to think about who we are, right? Like what we like, how we show up at work, how do we show up at school, and which one of these do you think you are? Now, you can actually be a combination of some of these. So you don't necessarily have to be a circle or only a triangle. So I would love for you to come off mute and to share your voice with me. Share your voice with the space and let us know which one do you most identify with, or which ones do you identify with?
I feel as though I'm a mix of both a circle and a rectangle when I'm at school.
How come? Tell us why and why.
For like rectangle, for example, I like staying organized. I like to look at the rules sometimes, but there are times when I just like, maybe I'm too late to some things, or maybe I forget or something like that. But then with circle, I like everyone being a part of it. I maybe like would ask people like, oh, you think you can do this maybe, or oh, we should both do this together, and things like that.
Great, thank you, Catherine. Can I get someone else to share?
I feel like I'm like a mixture of like a triangle and a squiggle, because I'm like a very creative person. I do art, I do VPA, I'm a very artistic person. I like drawing and express myself through painting, but I'm also a leader. I like taking leadership roles because I'm usually the most like responsible person there. I'll make sure that everybody stays on task, and I'm very competitive, so it adds on to me wanting for us to do our best. I am very goal oriented. If I don't have any goals, I don't do anything. So I set goals, even if they're small or large, for myself. I make very witty comments, sarcastic comments is my kind of my personality. So I feel like that's why I'm a mixture of both.
Awesome, thank you. Do we have one more?
I feel like because I came late, I'll speak.
Okay.
I feel like I'm the circle and the squiggly line too, because like I also do art and I like to like learn new things. So I try to always like do something and stay motivated. And I also like being kind and always like helping others.
Thank you. So this activity, and feel free to take a picture of it so you can have it maybe to refer back. But identifying like who you are, and what characteristics you play it's gonna serve you well as you move through life and you start to think about careers, and thinking about like what aligns with your passions, or what aligns with your skill set, or what aligns with what type of environment that you want to work in. All right, so teams. Okay, teams. In order to be a really great functioning team, it's all about building relationships, right? And this can include like a sports team, a club at your school, at work, an extracurricular activity. And teams, they use a number of skills and habits, such as working cooperatively. And that was a theme that was said at the beginning in the Icebreaker activity. Contributing ideas and suggestions. Communication is very big in teams. If you can't communicate, how are you going to reach the common goal? Having a healthy respect for different opinions and customs and individual preferences. Teams have the ability to participate in the team making decision, right? Like everyone wants to have their input so that they can feel that they were a part of the actual decision making process, right? And being supportive, you want to support your team, and then collaborating and building upon each other's ideas. So you may start out with an idea, but then your teammates start to add to it, and then it takes off. It can go so much further. So how does this come together in the workplace, right? Employers, they expect to see these things in action in different ways. So for example, team members in the workplace, they plan ahead and they work cooperatively to assign tasks, assess progress, and to deliver the project on time. So in the beginning, I had asked about a leader, the characteristics of a leader, because people think that, sometimes, on the team, there has to be a leader, right? And that's true, but there are also other roles that are very important. And again, knowing yourself and what you bring to the table will help you in identifying a specific team role that you would like to play. So let's talk about some team roles. So teams, they have discussions where there's different opinions and approaches that need to be considered in a respectful manner, right? And in order to achieve this, we got to know what our strengths are, right? So whether that's volunteering to take on a role for a meeting, an assignment on a project, or identifying what skill that you want to develop, right? So sometimes people take on a task that they not necessarily are really strong at, right? So that they can get experience to build that skill for later. So note takers, some roles and responsibilities of a team. A note taker. That person's going to capture the ideas and the action steps of the team. So if you're someone who doesn't mind writing, I still handwrite things. I don't know if people don't do that anymore, but they still have their journals and write things down, or if they just, sorry about that. I thought my phone was off. Right? So, the note taker, I don't know if people are still writing things down, or do they type it on the computer, right? Like on a Google Doc to just keep things in line. But note takers are very important to meetings and projects so that you can know where you started and where you're ending. A timekeeper, right? Someone who's making sure when the meeting starts, when it ends, they watch for the amount of time that the team spends on the topic, right? They keep the team on track. So like here, right? Like Ashley will tell me like if I have 5 minutes, if I'm running over, right? Sometimes you need someone to keep everyone on track with the time. And then a discussion facilitator, someone who may come to the meeting with ideas, right? Good meetings have agendas. You know what's happening, right? So you come with an idea to generate discussion. I like to call the discussion facilitator, right? Like the hype person of the group, the one who's gonna keep everyone motivated. And then also the ideas generator. This person may keep track of the ideas that the team creates during the brainstorming session. And then a deliberator, someone who's gonna consider all the ideas cautiously and carefully to consider the pros and cons before the team makes a decision. And then the organizer, the person who's responsible for the meeting, right? So if it's a virtual meeting, that person may send out like the calendar invites, make sure everyone's coming. They may share the meeting agenda, right? Now, all of these roles can come in the form of many people, or it can be one person who does it all, but that's not very effective to have one person do that because it can cause a lot of stress on the individual and on the team itself. So what role do you think you gravitate to when you work on teams and projects? Or what skill do you want to build? So I invite you to unmute to answer that question.
I would like to build on timekeeper because I'm always losing track of time. I'll either forget when it starts or ends, or I just be too focused on what other people are saying and like all the ideas coming in that I'll lose track of the time. So I feel like I can build on that.
Thank you. So that means that at your next project or assignment or the next opportunity that you have to be on a team, you are going to take on that role, right? You're not going to wait for someone to assign that to you. You're going to just step up and keep everybody on task with the time.
Yes, I definitely need to build up on that. I have to start participating with that.
Awesome. I hope you learned some strategies here to be able to take that on. Anyone else want to share?
I feel like when I'm in like a group, I'm usually a discussion facilitator or idea generator. I like talking a lot, so I just tend to kind of overpower others, but I don't want to, so I try to bring them into the discussion. And I usually have most of the ideas. I usually bring out a lot of the ideas, and like Monday, I had a student council meeting, and I was helping a lot of us generate ideas to fundraise. And so that's kind of like my role. I don't really do good at note taking. I don't note take at all. I just kind of try to memorize it in my head because every time I write notes, I do too much. So then I lose track of what we're saying and I stop paying attention to like the focus of the matter.
Okay, so you know that note taking is not your strength, but your strength is creating the ideas, right? And you said that you tend to talk a lot. So yes, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just agreeing. Yeah.
Okay. So, right. So that brings us to back to like our community agreements, right? Take space, make space, right? So a strategy could be you got the idea, wait, and just wait, and then wait, and then wait some more. And then if no one has anything, then you jump in, right? So that way it gives the appearance that you are making space, even though sometimes in, you know, if I was hearing you correctly, that other people didn't really have any ideas to offer, but you had some. Is that a career? Is that a fair assessment of the of what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just waiting for them to share their ideas, and then when they don't, then you share yours. But an ideas generator is a very important person to have on a team, especially, you know, if you're trying to come up with new things to do. People sometimes they want to do things, but then they don't have any ideas. Anyone else want to share what role they want to develop or what role they tend to gravitate to?
I want to develop more for like discussion facilitator because I usually don't talk that much, and also like organizer. You know, sometimes I lose track, and I want to like help organize the ideas.
Thank you. So some ways that you can do that is maybe come with your ideas written down, right? And then wait for an opportunity to be able to share them. Sometimes people need a little bit more time to kind of like just to think about it. So we'll take that time before meetings to be able to do that. Thank you. These were all really, really wonderful. So let's see. We've all heard, right? Like there's no I in team, right? So can I have a volunteer to read off these quotes to us? Anyone? No volunteers? All right, no problem. I'll read them. All right, so no I in team. Lots of people want to ride with you in the limo, but what you want is someone who will take the bus with you when the limo breaks down. Oprah Winfrey, entrepreneur. Coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is progress. Working together is success. Henry Ford, entrepreneur. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. African proverb. The way to achieve our own success is to be willing to help somebody else get it first. Ilanya Van Zant, motivational speaker. I am a member of a team and I rely on the team. I defer to it and sacrifice for it because the team, not the individual, is the ultimate champion. Mia Hamm, a soccer player. And lastly, I can do things you cannot. You can do things I cannot. Together, we can do great things. Mother Teresa, a saint. So, right, like there's no I in team. It's all about working together. And so I want to encourage you to reflect on these quotes on your own time and to create your own personal mantra about teamwork and why is it important for yourself and what can be accomplished, right? The quote should be something that encourages your peers, encourages yourself to gain a better understanding or perspective of the importance of teamwork. So this is just a self-reflection activity that you can do for yourself, right? And, you know, think about the core values that maybe your culture has, or, you know, the group that you belong to around quotes, right? So you look, this is a values check of how our values play into team dynamics, right? And again, I want to encourage you to look into your own community and your own culture to see how being on a team shows up for you in that space. So this is just something to think about. Any thoughts on that before we keep going through? Okay. So There's not going to always be cohesiveness, right? And kumbaya moments when working on a team, right? And there's going to be obstacles that may arise, like poor planning, lack of training, no direct focus, no clarity, you know, people not being able to deal with conflict. But a good manager, a good leader will know how to mitigate these issues for the benefit of the group. So good managers, right? They're people who lead teams. They have a plan. They know the team roles. They're good communicators. They're organized. They can identify risks, and then they review, right, at the end for success. So being a good team member requires emotional intelligence. Has anyone heard about that concept before, emotional intelligence? Can you just put a show of hands? Yes. Yes. All right. So emotional intelligence, right? It's the ability to understand and express one's own emotions. So first, you got to know what's going on with yourself, okay? It allows individuals to experience empathy, and empathy allows you to understand the feelings of others, right? So knowing who you are first, then you can empathize, you can understand what other people are going through. And this assist us in handling interpersonal relationships. Remember, teams are always about relationships and how we interact with people, right? And understanding deeper emotional drives. So people with emotional intelligence, they are typically self-aware. They understand emotional language and signals, right? You ever don't really want to talk and you're kind of like keeping to yourself, but someone just keeps on talking or keep coming in your space because they're not getting the, you know, they're not getting they're not catching the hint. Also, that's understanding, right? Those signals that are happening. People with high emotional intelligence, they're able to keep calm in crises and help others at the same time. They know how to convey important messages with the correct amount of emotion that's sought after in a team. And they have strong leadership and communication skills. So emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence, it equals success in any industry, right? So it's what you know plus the emotional intelligence equals success in any industry. So given everything that we have talked about, I am going to stop sharing my screen. And given everything that we talked about, I want us to, on this Jamboard that I'm going to drop in the chat, and then tell me if you can access the Jamboard. So everything we talked about, right? Let's write on the Jamboard some characteristics of what you think a team player is. So this is, so in the beginning, we started with what a leader was, right? Like what were some of those characteristics that a leader displayed. So now I want us on the Jamboard to think about what are the characteristics of a good team player, right? What does it take from a person, an individual, to become a really good person that's on the team, to be able to work towards the success of the team? So I see we've got some folks on the board. Excellent. That means that I got it right this time. So you're gonna just grab the sticky and then you will write and then you'll press save. So we're looking at what are some of the characteristics. We're just gonna list those out. And sorry for some of the background noise. I live in an intergenerational home. So anyone else want to add to the Jamboard? What are some of the characteristics of a good team player? So thank you for adding. A team player is someone who brings something to the table and has an understanding of what to do and an understanding with the people in their team. A good team player does their part. They are also open for new ideas from others. Yes, these are great responses. Anyone else want to add? Someone who is not afraid to speak and to call out people when they are wrong. Yes. Anyone else want to add? We'll keep the Jamboard open. We'll definitely keep that open. All right, so last thing before we exit for today. So let's go from being a group of people on this virtual space, on this Zoom, to being a team, right? And that is feedback, right? Good teams and good leaders always need feedback. So I'm going to drop our feedback survey, and this helps Liberated Success create better workshops. And I want to invite you to share some final thoughts on everything that we discussed today. So let's see, we have five young people on the call today. So in order for this part for us to go from a group on the virtual space to a team, we should have 5 responses in the community feedback, right? That shows that we completed the mission for today. And does anyone have any thoughts? Anything that they want to share? Thank you so much. Your participation was amazing.
The form says that you need permission.
What? I got it wrong? Oh no. Let's see. You should be able to, oh, I see what happened. I'm sorry. Uh-oh. Nope. Well, I guess I messed up on the community feedback portion of the forum, but that's okay. That's fine. Does anyone have any final comments or concerns? Anything that they want to share? I thank you for your time today.
All right, everyone. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you again to Ebony, Tyler for being with us tonight. Thank you to Liberated Success. On behalf of Jersey City Free Public Library College and Career Readiness Department, thank you so much and have a great rest of your evening.
Have a great rest of your day.
Have a
Thank
good day.
you. You guys were great today.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.